Thank you.
6 o'clock, Monday, April 1st, 2024, special meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council. Roll call.
Here.
Joseph Jones.
Here.
Michael Libby.
Here.
Lauren Campbell.
Here.
Lisa Harms.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Lisa Harms.
Yes.
3A, public hearing on the proposed tax rate levy.
Move to open the public hearing. Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Lisa Harms.
Yes.
This is the state mandated public hearing on our proposed tax rate levy. Is there any public comment?
Move to close the public hearing. Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Lisa Harms.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Lisa Harms.
Yes.
We'll take a 5-minute break before resuming the beginning with the regular meeting. Apparently, there is a recommendation per the Department of Management for 15 minutes. I'll say 5. Unless council would like to immediately proceed.
I would like to proceed.
Let's rock and roll.
Is council ready to proceed?
Yes.
All right. Regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council.
We just had one person come in, so.
Okay, well, regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council. Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Here.
Joseph Jones.
Here.
Michael Libby.
Here.
Lauren Campbell.
Here.
Teresa Harms.
Here.
Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Item 3, presentation from the Des Moines International Airport by Kayla Corvana.
Pretty close. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you so much for allowing us to come and express our appreciation. On behalf of the Des Moines Airport Authority, we want to thank you for your moral, political, financial support of our LIFT DSM terminal project. Certainly, April is a busy time for us. We are reigniting kind of all of our construction efforts. So there's a lot of activity at the airport right now. And really have been throughout the winter months as well. It was mild for us, so we've been able to plug along. So with that, I want to present the council with this plaque of our gratitude for your support of the LIFT DSM terminal project today. If we have an opportunity to a photo, I don't have to be in it, but maybe even after, so you can go through your agenda. We'd love to have a photo with.
Oh, we can do that now.
It's a very long agenda.
Okay,
Let's do it now.
okay, perfect.
Appropriately dressed.
You want to phone and you can send it to me? Does that work for you? I like efficiency.
I'll get another picture.
Don't leave back earlier.
Nope. Oh, yeah. I'll get right.
Karen drives to Kansas City for her flight, so she doesn't want to be in that flight.
Be careful.
3, 2, 1. All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I also am going to give you all a little flyer. As supporters, you get a sneak peek of our fly through before we launch it publicly. So. Maybe I don't, I'm gonna have to share.
Thank you.
So Kansas City. Huh?
I'm sorry.
No, any questions? At all? You're doing the terminal project?
Every time we go out there, I see something new and different. And so it's exciting. And somebody is always, my kids or my husband or somebody is always like, oh, is this new? Is this different? Is this? So it's fun to see it continue to grow and change.
Absolutely.
So congratulations.
This year will be big for us. You'll see a lot of momentum, a lot of vertical infrastructure later this fall. So it'll be an exciting time for everybody.
I'm bringing in 35 to 40 people in July from all over the country. And one of the reasons that they've never wanted to come to Des Moines was because of the airport. But this has been 15 years in the making. And now with all the changes out there and the fact that unlike in some other cities that we meet in, we're 15 minutes from downtown. You know, it's perfect.
We never want to be that hurdle. We certainly want to be
Right.
the infant moving us along. So thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 4, presentation from Bravo.
Yay.
Not gonna be quite as fast as Kindle, but I will try to get through it quickly so you can get to your regular agenda. Is there a clicker here? Or do you want me just to give you like a signal?
If you wanna give me a signal, I'm gonna stay upstairs.
Tonight. No.
You ready for me to go? Great. Well, all jokes aside, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I know many of you have served on the Bravo board before and are familiar with our organization, but I just want to say that what we do could not be done without your continued support. We are really grateful for your investment in what makes everything that we do possible. I do especially want to thank Council Member Campbell, who serves as Windsor Heights representative on the Bravo board. I'm going to give a high-level overview of what we do, talk about a couple of projects that we're working on, and leave time for you to ask questions at the end. So first, I always want to start with just a quick refresher. Bravo does serve as the region's arts council. This means our primary purpose is to align arts and culture with everything the region is trying to accomplish, from education to economic development, DEI to mental health. Everything that we're doing as a community is enhanced by having arts and cultural options available. We were founded in 2004, so we're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, and the model is still the same. We are almost 99.9% funded with hotel motel taxes contributed by the 17 local partner governments that invest in Bravo. We are currently a team of 4, me plus 3 staff that does all the work you're about to hear about. Bravo is best known for our grant making, which is actually all we did for our first 15 years. There's a lot to be proud of there. It exceeds about $60 million invested in arts and culture across the region in that 20-year time horizon. I'm sure you're very familiar with a number of our cultural partners, the nationally recognized Professional Symphony, an internationally acclaimed art center, and a zoo that serves nearly 500,000 visitors a year. Very impressive for a community like ours. I also want to make sure you understand, though, that Bravo is serving a huge range of organizations that you might not be as familiar with. We have an organization, the Des Moines African Youth Festival Awards, bringing together young people from around the world to share their love of fashion and music. We have an organization called Des Moines Young Artists Theater, actually doing youth-led productions so that young people get to experience more than what it is to be on stage, all of the activities and the transformative power of theater. And a great organization called City Voices, which provides free voice lessons to students that want to pursue it professionally or potentially in college, but can't afford the private lessons that are required to make that a reality. These organizations are contributing deeply to the cultural tapestry in our region, and it's important that you know both the large anchor institutions and the organizations that are providing depth and breadth across our community. Only 13% of the organizations Bravo is funding have budgets over $2 million. That's often a misperception that the vast majority of our organizations are large and anchor institutions. Only 13% have budgets over $2 million. 54% of the organizations Bravo supports have budgets below $50,000. They are small businesses, potentially even micro businesses, depending on how you categorize it, but they are providing really important work in our community.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, just the end, the small micro,
Yeah.
that number.
4% have budgets below $50,000.
Thank you.
So in addition to our organizational support grants, Bravo also offers some capital project support grants, and we offer public art grants. This is particularly exciting for our communities. These public art grants are only available to our 28E partners. And we are funding new public art installations or public art master plans so that communities can begin to integrate public art into the work that they're doing. We've invested nearly $500,000 over 3 cycles of this program since 2019. And we're anticipating adding somewhere between $250,000 this year, $250,000 to $300,000 additional this year. We are also currently in a short-term partnership with the Icon Water Trails to expand the concept of everyday, everywhere art. Every community that has an access point on the water trails and is a member of Bravo is also eligible for additional public art grant funding for those. As I said, Bravo is about 99% funded with hotel motel tax revenues. You don't have to understand all the details here, except to say that post-pandemic, things are looking better. It was tough during the pandemic, as it was for everyone, but we're really grateful that revenues seem to be rebounding. Operating grants, general operating support to those nonprofit organizations is still the largest piece of our portfolio. We anticipate being able to invest more than $5 million this year through all of our grant programs. I do want to call out that although it is great that revenues are up, we were supporting in GC 19, this top line here, we were supporting 64 organizations. In GC 24, the second to the bottom line, we're supporting 87 nonprofit organizations. So although there is more pie, there are also more people at the table. Beyond grant making, Bravo also contributes to the region by providing leadership on arts and culture issues and opportunities. There are just certain initiatives and programs that a single grant to a single organization cannot accomplish. We also are investing in research to support conversations about the sector, things that need to be discussed that Bravo can call and set a table and bring people together. These investments are a much, much smaller portion of our expenses, but they are leading to significant impact. Whether through the grants that we make or the investments in those leadership conversations and projects, everything Bravo does is rooted in the intrinsic value of the arts. It inspires, it creates creativity, innovation, and quality of life. But as public investors, it's also important for you to know it is driving substantial economic impact as well. In November, we released the data you're seeing here from a national economic impact study, and it's pretty clear that the arts mean business in central Iowa. These data are reporting only the impact of the nonprofit arts and culture sector. It does not include the for-profit businesses, and it does not include individual artists, both of which are vital aspects of the community. It's just not what the study was measuring. So you can see that we're generating majority through the organizations Bravo is supporting about $309 million worth of annual economic impact, supporting nearly 5,500 jobs. And the one at the bottom is particularly important as local funders. The tax dollars you're investing in Bravo are being regenerated through the organizations that you are supporting. So the cultural sector is a significant economic driver for the region and one that we do need to continue to nurture and support. I know beyond the economic impact, arts and culture are fueling workforce. You probably can't go to a meeting in the city of Des Moines without talking about workforce these days. I know it's a challenge for everybody. But every year, LinkedIn does a research study that includes ranking the most in-demand soft skills. These are the things that maybe are differently measured. Essential interpersonal skills. And if you look at that list, these are all things that arts, culture, and heritage enhance and make better. It's a great example of how arts and culture are contributing to things in ways you may not otherwise be able to see. This survey was based on about 6,700 national survey responses, so this is not unique to Des Moines. Looking forward, in addition to general operations, Bravo does have a couple of significant projects that we're working on. One is Bravo only operates one program. It is our Passport to Culture program. This is funding we provide directly to every school district in the region, and they can then use those dollars to fund admission costs or transportation fees so that their students can access arts and culture field trip experiences or bring those experiences into the classroom. We used to call them assemblies. I don't know if they still do that, but that's what they were. Bravo is solely funding this program right now, and we feel it's directly aligned with our strategic plan and our regional cultural priorities. It's also very clear the ancillary benefits associated with young people having access to arts and culture. Windsor Heights students are lumped in with the Des Moines Public Schools students. So every K-5 student in Windsor Heights that lives in Windsor Heights is getting $4.50 through the Des Moines Public Schools so that the schools can then use those dollars to access those programs. So we're very proud of that. The City of Windsor Heights as a separate entity is also eligible for $2,500 through the Passport to Culture program for Park District programming. If you wanted to do programming with cultural partners at the Colby Park, access for youth programming is available to you through this program directly. Oh, well, we're missing a slide. That's interesting. Well, I'm gonna give you just a quick update that we are really feeling great about this Passport to Culture program. And we are actually, because the community has expressed such demand for it, Bravo is kicking off a $3 million capital endowment campaign to sustain the program in perpetuity. As you saw, that revenue coming from hotel motel tax is highly variable. We do not want this program to be affected by economic disruptions. We know there will be another one, and we want to make sure that this is funded in perpetuity. We did complete a feasibility study last fall. It indicated that Bravo has a strong reputation, the program is valued, and now is the time. I want to be clear that no additional funding will be requested from the City of Windsor Heights to fund this, and no hotel motel tax dollars will go into the endowment. It will be entirely funded with private and individual contributions. And I think is going to be, once we're done, a really beautiful example of public-private partnership to support the work that's important to all of us. So now this slide, you had a little preview. Another thing that we're working on is we did recently conducted a creative space needs assessment. We also, beyond funding, know that there are barriers for our cultural partners' success. And one of the things that we're hearing regularly is that space has become a rate limiting factor. Whether it's because they can't rehearse and perform, they don't have office space to receive mail, or all the way up to the need for a 500 to 800 seat performance venue, space has become an issue. Now we know now is a really good time to be talking about space because there seems to be more space available. Bravo completed this study with a consultant. We do not intend to get into the development resident or real estate development field. That's not our goal, but we do want to do a little matchmaking. We do want to make sure that people who have space know that there are people who need space, hopefully put them at the same table and make sure conversations are happening so opportunities are maximized. That's a lot for me. I'm sorry, I tried to talk fast. If you don't remember anything else from this presentation, please just remember that investing in the arts means investing in everything. Everything that's important to your community and to the region as a whole is made better by the work that you're allowing us to do at Bravo. We're incredibly grateful for your support. Thank you, council member. We appreciate you very much, and I'm happy to take any questions.
You talked about the Passport to Culture program. Is there more information online, or can I just,
Our website, I think, is I think it's just passporttoculture.org.
okay,
Or you can find the link on our website, or I
Okay.
can follow up and send it to Adam and you can send it to everything.
excellent. Thank you.
So Sally, you talked about the Windsor Heights youth resources go to the city, go to Des Moines schools. So even those that go to the West Des Moines School District?
Well, it is done by a per student enrollment. So every student that is enrolled, every K through 5 student that is enrolled across the entire metro is getting funding through the Passport to Culture.
Okay.
So perhaps Windsor Heights is split between
are.
West, that, I'm
Yep.
sorry, I
Okay.
was unaware.
Yep.
So whoever's enrolled in Des Moines is getting funding and whoever is
Okay.
enrolled in West Des Moines is getting.
Okay.
Apologies. Thank
Nope.
you for the clarification.
Yep.
Your timing is great because we have a grant application on the agenda this evening. And also we're expecting our new Dart Art Bus shelters to be installed very soon. Last we heard was mid-March, so hopefully sometime in April.
Very exciting.
Justin wants to call us.
Any other questions?
I will say that since, I've been on council and I feel like in the last, I don't know, half a dozen years or so that we've taken the opportunities from Bravo. I don't know if I want to just more seriously or whatever the case may be, or just a different set of folks at the dais, but we've decided that this is a priority and I've seen us move, and it's been really exciting to see those changes in our landscape in Windsor Heights. So thank you for giving us opportunities to be able to, really implement this in our community.
Absolutely. We appreciate all the work we know you and the staff are doing to bring it to reality for your residents. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you, Sally.
All right, 5A, public hearing on North 73rd Street Project Award. Motion,
Oh, so second,
roll call.
Susan Skiris.
yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
AJ or Justin?
Take it away.
Justin Ernest Boldmake. Project was led by the DOT March 19th. You can see the packet there. There was 4 bidders, I believe, and all of them came in under our estimate, except for one outlier that was extremely high, so this came in good. Next steps, I guess, is to approve the contract if you all choose to do so. We'll be gathering bonds and whatnot to this, and then we'll be in contact with the contractor to determine schedule and set up reconstruction meetings and whatnot. I don't have a schedule because they can't contact the contractor until all this stuff is approved per the DOT. So unfortunately, I don't have many answers as far as when and startup and that whatnot, but
And just an absolute concrete construction. They're also the contractor that did University Avenue. Is that
no,
correct?
they poured part of University Avenue. They did College and then they did 69th and Allison. What was that? A couple years ago. So familiar with the city. Hopefully they do most of the work because they have the skills and manpower to do all the work, whether they do it or not. We'll see, but reputable contractor, large enough to handle something like this.
We didn't have any issues. nothing,
Nothing.
nothing that
No,
we've
they're-
had in the past.
They've been, yeah, it's good to work with and
You said they did College and Allison?
they did the College, Allison and 69th Street projects.
Well, I think that was not that I don't think it was I don't think it was them that was the issue. Okay.
All right, any public comment? All right, motion to close.
Can I just ask one question? Is that, or do you want me to wait until?
Please.
Okay.
If we could do it for the consideration. Motion to close.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
3B, consideration of the contract being absolute concrete construction.
Move to approve.
Second.
Ms. Garrett?
So I just saw, as I was looking through, there's a few driveways that it looks like are made smaller, and I know that just given my past with my driveway, have we contacted and talked to those people that it looks like, and maybe it's just because it's on this, and it won't really come out, in real life. It's just kind of on here. It looks as if the driveways are kind of made just a little bit smaller. Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure that they know that this might be, so that they can have some input.
Just remind, this is 300 working days, so this is over a span of probably 2 years, 10 months, kind of how I calculate it, so it's a long time.
You're saying the driveways get shorter, so the approach will be shorter? Is that what you're saying?
The width,
But-
actually, as they're turning in, they
Oh.
narrow.
Okay.
And so that's been a problem. We saw that a problem on 63rd, on 64th. And I just want to make sure that the residents know, because I didn't know.
Thank you.
And university too.
Yeah.
Just for council's awareness, next steps would be to set up a meeting with our contractor to discuss the project and where they'd be starting. Because at this point, they could start on the north or the south end. Once we have some of that information from them, then we'll be reaching out to residents that are on 73rd to hold a meeting with them, give them some additional information. We have already sent out, Walton Mink sent out a flyer or postcard to them. There are signs now out on 73rd and Hickman and University informing folks of the webpage that they can get additional information on as it becomes available too.
I had a listening session on Saturday at Grounds for Celebration. And it's funny how when you put a sign up, all of a sudden people take notice of what's going on. And so I had several people in asking pointed questions about the project, and it was, I appreciated getting the heads up long before Saturday. So thank you, Adam.
Other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes, save the best for last. Yes.
See, he's been working on switching it up.
That's right.
It's Monday.
Did not have enough coffee today.
I see you're just writing too, like.
5C, consideration of resolution number 2024-27, a resolution from BMI for 73rd Street Improvements Construction Services.
Move to approve.
Second.
Justin or AJ?
That just it's a long process with federal funds and not a bit work.
Questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
6, public forum. This is a time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. No action may be taken. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Consent agenda, motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
8A, consideration of the first reading of ordinance number 2024-02, an ordinance amending the ordinance relating to storm water drainage.
Move to approve.
Second. AJ.
So we talked about this at the several of the budget sessions, need to update our stormwater fees based off of a 2018 study that was done for the city. An ordinance had been begun shortly thereafter that. There is a small revision to the proposed ordinance that would decrease the max down from the previously proposed 1150 by the year 2030 down to 1050. Since we have bid information now on 73rd that has come back slightly below budget, and we've moved 68th Street reconstruction over to TIF. There's a slight decrease in need for funding in the stormwater fund, and we do have some other potential fees that may need to increase in corresponding years here for the water capitalization going forward. So to try to limit the impact to residents over the next 5 years, proposing to reduce some of those increases down to that 2030 level to take us to 1050. So just as a reminder, the stormwater fee is charged to anybody that has impervious surface on their property. The typical home is going to be charged for 1 ERU equivalent residential unit. So that would take their fee from $66 to July 1st, 2024, when the ordinance would take effect, to $108. And then commercial properties can vary pretty significantly. Walmart is the most significant impervious area in town, and their fee would go from about $28,000 to $46,000. Happy to address any questions that council might have on this. Otherwise, there'll be 2 more readings for this, and then opportunity to provide some information to the public with the ordinance taking effect July 1st.
Is that added, is that part of the water bill? So is it paid per month then? It's broken down over the course of the year?
Yeah, the water bill then would incorporate trash, stormwater fee, your water usage, as well as the water capitalization project fee. So it falls into a bucket of several fees that are on your water bill.
So I appreciate you, because I know when we first had this conversation on the budget committee, you know, the higher amount is just, unfortunately, as you said, we've not had an increase in this for a long period of time. There was a discussion about increasing it previously, and then that never went into effect. So the fact that we're at this point where we just, I think we have to get this, and I hate that it has to be so much, but we're also just really behind time. So thanks for getting it down though to $9.
And well, even with it, I mean, we'd still be behind Des Moines
Yeah.
and Clive, even at the max amount, right? So even with still behind our neighbors. And do you believe that this can remain static even at past 2030? I mean, because I assume the CIP is built with this stormwater in mind, you know, with this amount in mind in the future, right?
So yeah, in 2018, there was both the BMI stormwater master plan that was put together that listed, I'd say, about 13 projects, that approximately right, as well as that rate study that was done by UMB. And since then, I think, several of those stormwater projects have been ticked off. 73rd Street is going to be a very significant one this coming year and a half, getting that one done. So, by 2030, we'll have a good number of those stormwater projects done. There is, in our CIP though, some work on Walnut Creek, that's just kind of a placeholder of $500,000 and then 3 phases of that project. We don't have a lot of information at this point, what the true cost of those projects would be. So I would say that as we move forward, through our stormwater plan implementation and into some of the Walnut Creek and other flood resiliency work, that would probably be a good guide for us of understanding what the stormwater fees future needs to be to make those projects happen.
Do we know, is this, so for Des Moines and Clive, do they charge their residents and businesses the same rate? Or do they have it split up differently or?
I couldn't tell you city by city. I will say that it's different in many instances, for commercial and residential property owners across the metro. There are some cities that it's the same rate. At one point, Windsor Heights had a different rate. We consolidated into one rate a number of years ago. So it's hard to do an apples to apples comparison, but when I did look at the rest of the regional players out there, there's a pretty clear trend that older cities that have, more maintenance that needs to be done by the city because the original stormwater work typically goes in by the developer, or older infrastructure that just may not have had any stormwater infrastructure involved, tend to have the higher fees just because of the nature of the needs of those communities. So I would categorize us in there with the city of Des Moines.
Just thought for some reason, like in my mind, we had discussed and maybe this, that we had discussed the residential rate and a business rate. And so that I just didn't know why we kind of sat with this and if this was the best of all worlds and kind of the $9 where we got that from. So.
Yeah, I can.
I think we talked about it, then we didn't do anything.
That's exactly what happened. We talked about it. We had the conversation. We said
Right,
maybe we
right,
should
right.
have 2 different and then nothing. We had that first reading and then nothing ever happened again. We never brought it back.
There's no clear explanation as to why.
Yeah,
I don't.
good times.
Yeah.
So, but I think to answer the question about just the $9, how did we come to that amount? And I think at the end of the day, it was that's how much, if you look at the projects that we have in the CIP and what's the dollar amount that we needed, and that's how how we got to the $9. I think really important to, AJ, that you said this, because I had written myself a note over here that just because of the type of city that we are, and we either don't have the current existing stormwater infrastructure, or as development happens, that it has to be done. And the time frame in which our community was developed, it was just not what stormwater didn't happen. So now we're just in this place of really trying to play catch up, unfortunately, as new or redevelopment happens. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions or conversation?
Does like Walmart and even like the people on this page, do they know that this, like, have they been able to budget ahead of time, or will we let them know far enough? Because I mean, I guess Walmart, $20,000 probably isn't a lot to them, but you start looking at Kohl's at 3,000 and, Windsor Lutheran at, I don't know, 1,200, that's a little bit, I don't want to say significant, but I just want to make sure that we're giving them enough notice so that they could prepare financially like we would have to budget just in our city.
You can certainly choose the effective date. We delayed bringing this forward to council to start the ordinance until the budget was really in place and we had 73rd Street bid. But again, it won't go in effect until July 1st. So there's a little bit of timing that we can provide notification to the public here before the ordinance goes in effect. And then, of course, it is a monthly bill, so they won't incur that total annual change all at once. It'll be over the course of 12 months. But if you want to give folks additional advance notice, you can certainly change the effective date of the ordinance. It just made sense to me to start it at the fiscal year.
And I'm okay with starting at the fiscal year, I just want to make sure that we get it out to them in ways other than just the newsletter and hope that everybody reads it, because not to say that Walmart doesn't read our newsletter, but
There's a chance.
Yeah.
They don't. There's a chance.
So Susan, this is examples of them. Are you wanting staff to send out something to everybody, like a letter or something that says this is there's an increase, or I don't
really know what the best, I just want to make sure that it's communicated with them somehow. I don't.
right, not be a surprise and not
Yeah.
be, yeah.
And like open up their water bill and be, oh, hey, why did this go up by $150 or whatever?
Would it be appropriate before it's passed or?
I don't think so.
No.
After it passes, do we, if it's gonna be an increase of over $1,000, send a letter? Like, do we want to set a threshold? Is that the?
We do have a
Yes.
database, and it's gonna be again affecting commercial property owners for the
Right.
most part, in the more meaningful way because of their parking lots. But we could certainly take the top 10 or 50, impacted users and send them a mailing if you'd like, either before or after.
Waterworks?
We have an active list that we maintain the calculation of ERUs for.
I just think that would be
Yes.
proper.
as the schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you like that to be sent out immediately or after the third reading?
I would say after the third reading.
After it actually passes.
And I like your, a threshold of, $1,000 or more, if there's an increase of $1,000.
Probably top 50, I think will cover most of the
Okay,
significant ones.
all right, thank you.
And you can put or we will put information on the water bill saying that it's coming up. Once it does pass, it can go on everyone's bill. We can add that in there.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
8B, consideration of the third reading of ordinance number 2021-01 with regards to enforcement procedures for rental housing.
Move to approve.
Second.
Aaron, was this yours?
Staff's received no comments from the public comment.
Okay, any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
8C, consideration of the CEC solar electrical design contract.
As part of the coming year's budget, we have a potential solar panel project on the south side of the CEC building. There's current estimated cost of about $130,000 for that project, not accounting for, I think it's about $28,000 of tax credit implications that the city can receive on the federal side for the project as well. As part of the bidding requirements, we need to have an engineering firm design the solar array so that we can put it out to bid. Bluestone Engineering is already working as a subcontractor on Colby Park work. And so we've reached out to them to discuss specifications for it and to help us manage the construction and bidding process for that. So that's what we have here is a professional services agreement for $15,000, approximately $12,000 or 12% of the estimated cost to do that electrical design, bidding and administration for the city. Happy to answer any questions.
Are they are they familiar with the solar work?
It's an electrical engineer that's working
Okay.
on it, so he's got familiarity with these types of projects. Yeah,
Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
they've done something like this before.
Yes, I couldn't tell you the ones he's worked on, but having talked to him, he's worked on solar array projects
Okay.
before.
Okay,
Because they're working on Colby Park. doesn't make experience in this.
is there a motion?
Oh, move to approve.
Second.
Is there any further discussion or questions? Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
8D, consideration of the public art plan grant application. AJ?
Councilmember Campbell alerted staff of the opportunity to apply for a Bravo grant that would cover approximately 75% of a public art plan for the city. Given the timing of some projects, and I think I've got a map included in the staff report going on in the city, such as the proposed Casey's project and the Windsor project, which would impact some of the public right away there at 63rd and University, as well as a potential mural on Little Brother and other construction in Colby Park. Thought the timing was potentially interest to work on a master plan for future public arts in the city. This would also help open the doors for some of the Bravo art installation grants in the future. There'd been some conversations about public art previously, and so we invited Jen Halfhill, who's also our Board of Adjustment Chair and an artist himself, and had been on part of those previous conversations along with Liz Lidgett, who owns an art gallery downtown and works closely with Bravo. Madison Burke with Bolton and Mink, who typically assists us with our grants applications, as well as Mayor Jones and Councilmember Campbell and Harms to talk about what an application could look like. Culminated in Liz Lidgett putting together the proposal, of which is included in the packet to work on that, to work on the public art plan. The goal of finalizing the public art plan by May of 2025. The city would be responsible for 25% of the costs of the public art plan. That's about $6,250 if all expenses are incurred. And so that's what we're looking for approval here tonight is if council wishes to make that application and commit to expending the up to $6,250 to come up with that plan, which would establish some of the easements, maybe style or themes of those art, as well as any locations, engaging public input from the community of what kind of art we would want to look for, and other things of that nature. The grant application is due April 5th. So we've been working on this kind of quickly over the last week and a half or so to get the application put together and identify a consultant to work with, which is a required part of the app, or is a recommended part of the application, I believe. Happy to answer any questions you've got or talk more about some of the locations that we've potentially earmarked.
Is this something that we needed to go out and ask for like any type of other bids for, or is it under the threshold, or is this?
So it's a consultant.
It's professional services, so
Okay.
it's not required. You do have your own internal policies, but it's not a code requirement that you have a certain number of bids.
Because of the timing, also, we're super fortunate to get to be on Liz's availability, I guess, to help with this, because there's a limited window before the application closes and the number of people that do that kind of work to get a hold of. So we're fortunate to get her help, and I imagine that we'll have some bid process for the art itself. Or it might be Susan and Lauren with some paint on doing a mural on our own. I don't know.
They'll want me painting. I can't even do stick figures.
It's called abstract.
That's what I'd be doing, just throwing paint and slinging.
Either questions or discussion about that, about the proposal?
Move to approve?
Second.
Anything further?
So this is just to go into contract with her, right? This isn't anything like the option one, right?
Going into
Okay.
contract with her will be subject to actually receiving the grant.
Right.
But if we
Okay.
receive the grant, then the city would be then responsible for our 25% of moving forward with that process with Liz.
In which Bravo would provide $18,000, almost 19. We'd only provide the 6. Okay, roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
8E, discuss potential parkland dedication, land exchange, and other topics related to the Windsor project.
Adam, we have Nick Jensen on Zoom, if you wouldn't mind unmuting him in case he would like to weigh in at some point. And then, yeah, if you could pull up that map that I think you were grabbing right there.
the landscape?
This one's actually included in the packet. It's the conceptual land exchange and parkland dedication. So we discussed this a little bit at the previous city council meeting, and due to the weather, we weren't able to get out there previously with our engineer and the developer to kind of walk the site, talk about a potential parkland and other uses adjacent to the Windsor there to the west. We did get that opportunity last week to meet with Bolton and Mink, as well as the developer and our architect that's working on Colby Park, and identified a concept for current and future parkland and stormwater use adjacent to the Windsor. If you wouldn't mind trying to blow that up if you can a little bit more. That's actually the topo one. Sorry, that
Should be the next.
Windsor concept park and sketch. Apologies. And so kind of wanted to boil it down to a few different options for council this evening. If you're not interested in kind of pursuing a parkland concept here, you can forego the land exchange that the developers requested, which is on, again, the public property on the corner there of University and 63rd. They would need about that 7,000 square feet to be able to construct their project as proposed in this photo there, or the graphic. Instead, you could charge the developer fair market price on that. They paid $7.03 per square foot for the property that they've acquired from the church. So that would equate to about $51,000. Option two on the land exchange there is then really to, instead of charging the developer, exchange the city's undevelopable property for some alternative undevelopable property there as part of the adjoining parkland dedication property. And then on the parkland dedication side, the developer could either dedicate the remaining portion there adjacent to the land exchange area to the city for use of park purposes, or the city could require a different portion of the property to potentially be dedicated for parkland purposes. Or if the developer is interested, they could explore a cash in lieu or some other alternative arrangement to parkland dedication. I guess my recommendation is for council to consider what's proposed here, which is creating a trail connection off of 64th, then winding around the detention pond. Doing so would require some redesign of that detention pond. We've made the developer aware of that. I haven't heard feedback on whether that's conceptually doable from their perspective or not, but they need to go a little bit deeper on the detention pond to make sure that there's spacing around it for a walking path. And then eventually that walking path would continue further north in some configuration to University Avenue. We've kind of sketched out there that line just going north. Those are all private properties that the city could consider acquiring when and if they came on the market. But up until one or more of those properties was acquired by the city, there's no good route to get a walking path up to University. So you'd kind of have a walking path around the detention pond in a woodland area directly to the west of the detention pond until additional property was acquired. If and when that additional property was acquired to the north there along University, there'd be an opportunity for redevelopment in line with the future land use map that the city has. So mixed use, potentially more multifamily development, which would then kick in the requirement for additional parkland dedication. And so we've got noted in the map there another half acre or so of potential park property that could be maybe more active parkland instead of the kind of proposed wooded passive recreation area directly west of the detention pond. And then that development could potentially utilize the economies of scale of expanding that existing detention pond for the Windsor, which is currently maintained and proposed to be maintained by the Windsor for their detention, water detention that would be necessary as well. I did also attach here the master park plan. It does talk about walking distances of Windsor Heights residents to parks and trying to decrease that time. I think ideally we would have a second park north of University Avenue. Obviously, we've got land constraints given the city's developed out predominantly already. So while it's maybe not the most ideal place for an additional park, it does give residents on the kind of center and east side of town a more proximate location for recreation and outdoor public land use. have visited with some of the property owners to the south. I think I haven't heard a lot of concern about a trail connection there, certainly more concern about a potential road connection from 64th into the development. But I think there's at least in the past some sort of transient use of that church property when it was undeveloped, and certainly could see a continuation of some of that use here. And then the actual topography and design of that trail and the parkland space, not a lot of work has gone into that to date. And so there's things such as retaining walls and how that would be used and what sort of trees would be planted that haven't been explored yet. At this point, we're just looking for some council feedback of, is this a route that you want to further explore and move towards? Or do you want to look at more of the a purchase for the 7,000 square feet that the developer needs and an alternative parkland dedication, or some other arrangements that the developer might be friendly towards? So I'll stop talking there for a minute. Nick, I don't know if you want to weigh in at all on the detention pond or what the developer's preference is at this time. But happy to hear any feedback that you have as well.
Yes, am I unmuted?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mayor and council members. Nick Jensen with Caliber, 720 South 68th Street in West Des Moines. Adam, that was a good overview. I think as we looked at this, our project and its overall commitment in the area as you expand and look at future redevelopment, some of the houses that are neighboring and the age and condition those are in, I feel like this proposed idea is leaving the most amount of options open for future expansion, either of our project or a new project that would allow the detention area that is going to exist from our project to be potentially expanded and more of a regional detention solution, which we've done in other areas and have had good success in, not having two basins side by side owned by two different people, but having the efficiency of a bigger basin. And the idea here seems to make sense from our standpoint, where we would swap, we would maintain both pieces of ground are undevelopable, unusable, and seems like a logical solution. We'd have some work to do, like Adam said, on our just basin design and accomplishing something that would allow for walkability. We need to do that yet and confirm, but assuming that can be done reasonably, I think this is a solution that would be in line with win-win.
The only other note I would make is, as part of our meeting with the developer and engineers a week and a half or so ago, we were out there at about 4:30 to about 5:30, and we all kind of had the opportunity to see traffic, particularly eastbound traffic on University, and the signal there. And I think we had a couple takeaways. One, there was, at least on the day we were out there, maybe 15 to 20 minutes where we really had traffic backing, and it did back up a number of blocks in some instances. I think we had Bolton and Mink's engineer was doing some timing of that signal to see if we could inquire with the city of Des Moines, who manages the timing in conjunction with the DOT, to see if maybe there should be a longer green light period on University relative to 63rd, which could help alleviate some of that backing up. And then also just some conversation about how turning access would work, particularly coming out of the sites going westbound on the University, and whether eventually moving that connection to University to the west would be beneficial. And I think, we probably all realize that the further west we can get it, the better. But the traffic that did back up, was backing up substantially. So 15, 20 feet further west isn't going to get you much more stacking. It would allow for some play on maybe turning 64th Street on the north side of University into a right in, right out. So you eliminate one conflict point of those folks turning left, because they do have an easy connection back to be 65th, I guess, that they could make a left-hand turn on University. And it would eliminate potentially some cut-through traffic that currently happens, according to some neighbors, on 64th on the north side of University as well. But generally speaking, it's not ideal, in my opinion. I'm not the engineer of the project, obviously, but there's constraints here. There will be times that there'll be some conflict, of vehicles trying to egress the site. And Bolton and Mink's going to be back with a memo, I think, in the near future to talk about maybe what some of the recommendations are. But that's just sort of the reality of this site, is you're restricted to a right in, right out on 63rd. And the property only extends so far to the west on University, and it abuts a fairly significant intersection. So that'll be something council will need to take a look at as part of the site plan. And Nick, again, I don't know if you have any additional comments beyond what I've described, from your observations being out there, or potential solutions on your end. Obviously, we're not trying to solve for that tonight, but this parkland concept, would eventually conceptually allow for adjoining development that could have a joint egress for your site that would move to the west. But that wouldn't be an immediate reality by any stretch.
Yes, I think it's something significant to consider and think through. Our access is limited. We have University and 63rd. 63rd has the median. That's right in, right out forever. This University access, likely the memo will suggest not to allow full access. I do feel like relief is important to encourage these residents to be able to turn in and go into Windsor Heights, into town. If we do not have that, everybody's got to leave going east or south, which takes you out of Windsor Heights. And the future potential for connection to the west, as we're out there observing, it's a small window where traffic does back up. It's those peak times, but even within those peak times, it's a short window. But when it does, it really backs up. It backs up a long ways to the west, and the solution of our site and slightly moving that is not a solution that fixes the challenge. I think there's some potential signage we could have on our site that would highlight those times and encourage our people exiting the development to operate going east during those peak times. But for the majority of the times, the development being able to access going west out of the site and being able to go into Windsor Heights is what we would see as the best outcome, best solution for the residents, and the overall goal we'd like to accomplish. Be happy to talk about any of those thoughts or ideas and considerations on that topic.
So you and the developer are kind of the same mind about what the best recommendation would be?
Yeah, I think, you're still working with some existing challenges with the site, but my recommendation would be to pursue a land exchange and a parkland dedication that would allow for the partial trail connection to take place, kind of a forested area that may have some passive recreation ability, and then allow for future expansion to maybe more active recreation, a regional detention basin, and an eventual trail connection to University Avenue.
So a couple of questions. How, what would the trail around the detention basin be, the length, the distance?
Oh, I'd have to measure it here. Do that fairly quickly.
That's number one. And then how large? So if the detention basin is going to be seen as a regional, so it needs to account for this property. And then what is the additional capacity then of that basin? Like, what's the land space? How far does that go to account for, to make it the regional? Does that make sense?
I think so. The north-south distance between the dead end of 64th Street and University Avenue is just over 500 feet. So the trail would wrap around there. So you can imagine that it's probably more like 750 feet, depending on the ultimate configuration of the trail leading back to University Avenue. The regional detention basin would be designed to whatever the impervious surface of that future development on University Avenue would be. So it can flex as far as expanding out based off of how much stormwater detention requirements are required for whatever that unknown future development would be, if that makes sense.
So, okay, so I just make sure I understand. So the rest of that kind of space, 64th University, so would it count, or it has the capacity then to account for those properties? Is that what I heard you say? Maybe not.
It's easier if I point, so.
Teach a girl about stormwater and she can be dangerous.
It's obviously.
Yes.
What the rest of the basin account for all
Yep.
impervious surface.
Yep,
Then we've got plus or minus a half acre or so for park space.
Yep.
North of the wooded area, and then we carved off, a third or fourth of an acre potential additional detention for whatever this would be. So, if this is all impervious surface, then, your future neighborhood park shrinks and probably the regional detention basin grows, but you can handle, what additional impervious surface you're gonna get by utilizing some of that current private property, but potential aggregated property in the future for that park/detention.
okay, so the idea would be that, so the current size of the detention basin is only going to be responsible for that, for the existing, the Windsor, and then, but the expanded area then could be.
It's
Grow-
that blue line.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Those blue lines that are there.
No,
yeah.
I know, is then for the property that is not developed, that currently has housing on it, that potential future development. Okay, is there any capacity in the current, in the one that they're building, the detention basin, is there any capacity in that for those properties?
No, in fact, they're gonna have to redesign their current basin, make it deeper so that the basin can be shrunk a little bit and that trail can wrap around.
Got it, okay, thank you, that's helpful.
I think where the win here is the efficiency of reconstructing that basin and expanding it for the future development compared to having two basins side by side should take over much less overall area.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So then is your trail then, does the trail take into account the expansion of the basin?
No, I think the trail's just a line going north at this point. I mean, it could be very well on the west end of that future redevelopment property, or maybe it hugs the difference between those two properties.
But we would not put it in the space that we would have the expansion area.
Yeah, I think what's shown there's, just showing the line. It
Okay.
probably, in reality, it wouldn't go
Okay.
through the middle of the
Just
detention basin. Yeah,
Just confirming.
fair enough.
And in the meantime, before development, who will be responsible for upkeep, litter, all that stuff of the properties?
The parkland would be the city's responsibility, so the wooded area, I think our stormwater maintenance agreements, we'd want to talk about who's responsible for the maintaining, relatively clean basin. It would be a dry basin, so it's not intended to be, have water in it most of the time unless you have a significant rain event. So, you could see aggregation of litter and whatnot down there. If we wanted to write that into our maintenance agreement for that stormwater easement, then, we can negotiate that as part of our development agreement, I think.
I would be in favor if we move forward of doing that. I don't want it to be a neglected space in between it becoming dedicated parkland and the water basin and expansion of it and actually becoming a park.
So just because I am horrible with math, feet, inches, all of that you just spurted out, what are we talking about with the basin? Like in ways that I could understand, like half a mile, 3/4 mile, like what, how many times, let's say this, how many times around that basin would you have to go to make a mile?
Oh,
750 feet.
I don't even know how to figure that out. So
I'd say the perimeter of that is also approximately 500 feet right now. So, you've got a distance of a track plus another fourth. So you walk it 3 times and you're about 1,600 feet. Thinking 1,600 meter, so I guess
I don't think you helped anybody.
No.
So-
Which
so
metrics is that?
Susan,
The times round, is that what you're saying would get me a mile?
No, I
Oh.
guess it would be
No.
9 times around with yourself a mile.
5,000.
At the current designed basin, if the crew.
Correct.
Thank you. I was thinking meters.
Not very far.
Susan asked for us to simplify it, not to make it hard. Put that out there.
I mean, you're really pointing out my, my New York education with math. Thanks.
So the basin, I think, is about the size of this building minus the fire garage.
When I also said to AJ, I think also probably another
You did.
concern is you don't want to also have another spot that kind of becomes a second Lions Park. You can also just hold on to the land. Like you can also just have the land. We do not need to struggle to develop the land. It can also just be held for the future. And then when, the future comes to fruition, then it can be, turned into something that is more appropriate. So the passive recreation area does not necessarily need to come to fruition, immediately. It can just be held for the actual future. So there's also that.
And can I ask another question too? I'm looking at, so the red, the future redevelopment, so that has houses on it currently. The one below that, still in the green with the green around it. Yes, that. So that would become part of this land swap area, or is that something that we would need to be purchasing later on, or is that
Those are all their lots. Those are the backs of the lot.
the backs of those houses?
Yeah,
I knew that they were,
they're very long lots.
but I didn't know how far deep, and the way that this looked, it was hard to figure out. So I wanted to make sure that I,
Yeah, they have
Understood.
the detention basin and the passive recreation area, so it's really just. At some point, somebody, whether it's the city or a developer, buys those, they get aggregated together and redeveloped, presumably if they come on the market. And then when they redevelop, there'd be a parkland dedication to the city for that redevelopment if it's got residential components. And that's how the city might wind back up with a portion of that parkland for an expanded recreation use then. So very long-term sort of perspectives out here. To the mayor's point, you don't need to do any sort of a trail day one. You might wait until there's an opportunity to make the University Avenue connection, because that's where a primary benefit, I think, is for the folks that are down there, is to give them another path off of 63rd Street to get to University Avenue down to the park space.
I've seen some of the other communities to utilize space like this that is close to like a detention basin or lower lying lands for community gardens as well. And so I know that's been a one of our conversations in the past. I like the concept of not only that, but it seems like that might be some space that we can, people can, you've got little lots and people sign up for them. And I know my husband would love to have one. Not at my house.
I thought
There's
about,
no room, there's no room.
I thought about the Keep Windsor Heights Beautiful, the email that I think Joseph, you and I received. Looking at that, this would be a good spot for that, really. To start, and if they start it early, then as things progress, the trees, everything will be there and prosperous before anybody really even knows it.
Great.
So it sounds like
Yeah, just looking for direction this evening. I'm hearing general support. What we need to do next steps is have a site plan brought before you. There'll be a tax abatement application that'll be brought for you. And there'll be a development agreement brought before you that would allow for the land swaps as well as any TIF rebates and any other requirements on the developers, such as additional tree plantings on or off the property, depending on the tree count for their development. So you'll see a lot more flushing out of some of these ideas and the access over the course of the next month. The developers intending to be on the April Planning and Zoning Commission meeting with their site plan. And then that would mean you'd be seeing this by early May for a site plan consideration at the City Council. And then there's currently also a variance needed for the facade as well, unless the design changes. They meet the brick requirements on Nick, remind me, is it University? You're a little shy on 63rd, or do I have that inverse?
That's correct. So we're, as an overall envelope, we're above 75%. The ratio on university is higher. And so we have a potential variance for the 63rd Street portion, mostly to accomplish the desired look where brick extends all 4 stories high and is in sections where if we add it in certain places just on level 1 on that 63rd Street, it does not look as good as we think it does without it. So we're finalizing that detail. Our construction drawings are making good progress. So we're hoping to have a permit set completed by the end of this week to be able to start submitting for plan review. And overall, very excited to bring this project to Windsor Heights.
And just as a reminder, you guys started the site plan work well in advance of our new zoning code going into effect. And so you kind of have the impact of the zoning codes changes happening on your site plan since it was submitted after January 1st when the zoning code came into effect.
Okay. Do you have your direction?
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, 8F, discuss Windsor Heights Trail System name. As indicated in the council memo, our trail system has a lot of names and no clear single name and no official name. And so if council would like to, I'd ask them to actually adopt a formal name for our trail system.
Are you suggesting one?
Well, the only signage in the entire city is Colby Greenbelt Trail, which actually doesn't appear on any map, coincidentally. So Colby Greenbelt Trail, Windsor Greenbelt Trail. I don't want to open a can of worms with a naming contest. I want to just ask council if they just adopt a name. That way we can have some conformity for our naming of our system and move forward,
Well, Mr. Mayor, I think we have the Clive Greenbelt Trail, right?
right?
And
But we're not Clive.
I understand that. And so, I would opt for some utilization of the term Windsor in the Greenbelt Trail. I think, we have lots of things that are named Colby all over Windsor Heights, and it would be nice to have our city recognized in that small way.
I like the Windsor Greenbelt Trail myself. Windsor
Simple, clear, concise.
Greenbelt Trail. That's my recommendation. Do you need me to make a motion?
For the entirety of
The Windsor
from
Heights
there all the way to there.
Within our
geographic.
Even though it doesn't connect up.
boundaries.
Sure.
It doesn't,
About a hill and then.
what did you say? It doesn't,
I mean, it connects to the Clive Greenbelt, but then it also goes this way, which is not connected to the Clive Greenbelt, so we're still gonna call it the Windsor Greenbelt going that way too.
Good point.
what's it called north of us?
We call it the Windsor Trail.
Goes into the Urbandale Trail, right? You know what it's called, the Urbandale Trail? Right, so we could. just
Windsor
call it the
Heights
Windsor
Trail?
Trail,
Windsor Trail?
Windsor Trail.
Windsor Trail.
Windsor Heights Trail.
I like it.
Well,
mean,
the
the
thing
first-
is you can name it whatever you want.
Oh, I know, yeah, I know.
That's the thing.
But do we want to be able to distinguish, like, it obviously splits.
Sure.
North Windsor.
North Windsor Trail and the,
Oh, goodness, now you're gonna have me do math or.
Okay, there's a fork. You could call that 30 yards after that fork, the Windsor Greenbelt. Where the sign goes for Wham.
That points that way.
Yep.
Yep.
I think the Windsor Heights Trail is just fine. Yep. Unless it causes a problem for people in the back row who have to patrol, clean and or. Make it simple.
You know where it's at, right?
What did you suggest?
You know where it's at.
In the heart.
Kind of like.
I love
The
that.
hearts of it all, and the heart of it
The
all.
heart trail.
The heart of it all, yeah.
What did you say?
I said the Windsor Heights Trail or the Windsor Trail, whichever. You want to be simple.
I think we'd bring you back a resolution just to codify it, the
Right.
next council meeting,
Right.
whatever the recommendation is.
So what's the recommendation?
Windsor Heights Trail.
We dug deep for that one.
I like the Windsor.
I like the Windsor.
I like the Windsor,
I do too.
Windsor Trail,
That's
the
fine.
Windsor Trail.
the Windsor, no, I'm kidding.
No.
Emphasis
Ohio
on
State it.
the.
Like the Ohio State University.
Yeah.
Windsor Trail.
I am now a football player and we just announcing.
Very good.
WTW.
Motion for the Windsor Trail.
Oh, we're bringing it back later.
We'll do a resolution.
Bringing it back, bringing it back.
Motion in.
Come on, let's get it.
All right, the Windsor Trail it is.
I don't care.
All right. Thank you. We'll
Thanks for
have some
bringing that.
appropriate signage now. All right, reports. I'll have a report next council meeting, Ms. Harms.
Mac met last week and I think it was last week or the week before, whenever we met last. And so we had a legislative update, which was good. We didn't have any legislators join, unfortunately. But then last Monday, the Senate passed Senate File 455, the stormwater bill, stormwater topsoil bill. So it'll be interesting as we have conversations with our developer to make sure we account for, don't lose any ground on what we need to accomplish there. So that's it.
Campbell.
Susan and I met with Rachel, who will be leading the WHAM run for us this year at Fall Festival. Registration's open. Marketing is underway. T-shirt designs are in flight, so making great progress there. And she's been promoting us already to the Altoona Running Club and getting our flyer into a couple other races. So that's quite exciting. I think that's my only other update. Also, it's 45 at the half. That's all.
Should I ask who's playing?
JR's not dead. I don't know what to tell you. Like.
Who shot?
Well, you just saved
Burns?
yourself.
Michael.
Oh,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that MAC meeting was devoid of any elected, which was too bad because there were plenty of questions circulating around. I know that I invited our representative and senator, but apparently they could not make it. I look forward to the next meeting. Also, I mentioned earlier that I had coffee with council on Saturday. And suddenly there's all kinds of questions about the 73rd Street project, which I think has come about because we've actually done signage now and let folks know, and there's been flyers out. So, and it was all good. They're anxious to see something get done. There was some confusion as to the method, the steps in this, phase 1 and phase 2. Several people thought that phase 1 was just from Hickman to Wilshire or something like that, but clearly phase 1 is that entire north side of the university. So anyway, it was all good and lively discussion.
So we'll have another DART meeting tomorrow. The excitement continues. You may have noticed that our neighbors to the east have elected a new council member. Once that person gets sworn in, I'm thinking, I can't say 100% that they will have a discussion and a vote about the franchise fee. I anticipate that it will not be at a percentage that any of us think is the right percentage. But nonetheless, I think they will have a vote once that occurs. We are going to go forward currently with kind of 2 budget plans right now. And yeah, that's kind of where we are. We will continue to discuss what reimagined DART looks like in terms of our master planning to kind of go through and talk about the funding formula and other things in the future state of DART and how we want it to look as a metro-wide community. But things are still very tense because of the uncertainty there, right? As you can imagine. And of course, the people who ride the Dart bus are the ones who are really the ones that are at the loss here.
Right.
And I think with that percentage coming from whatever the vote is for Des Moines being lower, there's going to be cuts somewhere. And so we have to brace ourselves for that, but there's really nothing we can do to push the politics of another city.
I had a constituent reach out who's disabled and who was talking about needs to find work, but it has to be someplace on the current Dart bus line.
Sure.
And if there are cuts to the service, it's going to severely impact his ability to get to work.
Right, because even if that person is still on the line, it could mean that it's
Right.
20, 30, 40 minutes longer for them to access the ride.
Not to say that this is a good thing, but if there's anything good that has come out of Dart, I think there are more people like my daughter's age that have now started listening to what's going on, because we had a detailed conversation about Dart, and she is so mad that she has actually gone in and like gone to some kind of zoomed in to some Des Moines council meetings just to listen about it, because it affects the people that she's working with as well. And so she's had conversation with other friends about this, and they're not normally people that you would think would be sitting there. I'm going to go watch a meeting about Dart. So if nothing else, it at least has brought to the center of attention to younger people the importance of Dart.
Sure. Yeah.
So if you can take one good thing out of this, that would be it.
Yeah. Well, and I think for their generation, they assume that when you go to a place, there's public transit, right? When there's a city of our size.
Yes.
And it's
Mhm.
robust and there's activity that you can get to there. And so to think that we would actively make a decision to consciously take that away
Mhm.
is disheartening.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but just my 2 cents on
Thanks.
that.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
That's scary.
We had a public works meeting, March 20th. Mayor sent out very detailed notes on what happened. I had a Metro Waste meeting that day as well, and they reminded us that today is the start of yard waste pickup. Yippee. On the Friday of that week, Lauren and I met with Rachel, who's helping us with the WAM race. I won't give more info because Lauren did that. So I attended the Chamber's AM Exchange on March 26th. There were over 80 people in attendance, and I was able to promote some of our events in the group that I was in, and I really pushed the Earth Day event, and I see one person signed up as a volunteer. So I would say that's a win for a 7:30 in the morning event. Let's see. Then on Friday, I attended a ribbon cutting in Urbandale, and then on Friday, I attended the new member coffee, which the chamber just started in January. I was able to meet up with 4 of my businesses, and 2 of those businesses as a connector are out of Windsor Heights that are new to the chamber. So that just kind of keep getting in more businesses into the chamber. So I think that's a bonus. Then this afternoon, I was at Metro Waste in Grimes for a tour of the facility. They've started using robots in their sorting, and it is absolutely something to see. I would advise anybody who hasn't, well, you haven't seen the robots yet because this is the first time they're tours, but I would advise everybody, if they can, staff, elected officials, to go out there and look through and have a tour of the facility, because you will learn just a lot about the facility, and it is kind of eye-changing what they do with garbage and recycling. And like, I walked out of there thinking, holy cow, this is amazing. So, let's see here.
Susan, the next tour of that is, I think, the 9th, right?
The 8th or the 9th,
9th. Okay, thank you.
and I think it's at 3
Tuesday,
p.m.
Next Tuesday. Yep.
3 p.m., right? So then, on Wednesday, I have a Metro Waste Exec Board meeting. I was like, that's tomorrow, but no, today's only Monday. Then a great big thank you to the Windsor Heights Firefighters Association and Chief Meese for putting on the Easter egg hunt, or the egg hunt. The turnout wasn't as high as usual. We all know why, but that just means more eggs to be picked up. So I think everybody enjoyed it. Thank you to Chief Roth and Officer Nissen for being there as well as at the event, keeping us all safe. It was nice to see Lauren and Andrew, Joseph, Jason, his family, as well as Adam and your family at the event. They put out 7,000 eggs, and I think it took 1 minute or less to have all of the eggs picked up, with the exception of the youngsters. That took a little bit longer, but it was like hungry, hungry hippo, where I mean, it was amazing. And then thank you to Caliber for coming in and making sure that as much equipment as they could was moved from the area. And I saw them there about 8:30. They were shifting things around. So that makes me happy for our events that are coming up, to know that Caliber is listening, they're receptive to things, and we can trust that they're going to do what they're supposed to. So yay, one thing off the checklist. So that's it.
AJ?
My toddler got 23 of the eggs, so looking for that candy. Adam, if you wouldn't.
I could have set some aside for one more.
That was the first
Corrupt
3
government.
extra eggs for them. You pull open the Colby Park Food Truck Plaza portfolio final with labels. Yeah, mouthful. The really long one. The final with labels one. Keep going. The color. So just a couple notes for you. First, our Christmas tree unfortunately will be coming down as part of the ADA sidewalk into the CEC. So we're going to rework the landscaping to have a new 8 or maybe taller foot Christmas tree put back in its place in a similar location. So you see sort of, yep, right in there on the south of that. Yep. So just go down and to the left a little bit on the, yep, right in that area. That's the sidewalk connects into the CEC there. So you'll still have pretty good predominant viewing of the tree lit up as it grows over the years for Winter Wonderland. So I wanted to let folks know that when you see that come down later this week. And then Food Truck Plaza, committee's met a couple of times and talked about this, and just wanted to share since our architect will be sending the plans off to Caliper probably Wednesday for them to start absorbing that, and then shortly thereafter potentially begin work. Just a few takeaways from the group's meetings. We're going to label each of these 6 stalls. Trailers are, the dedicated trailer slot there is the eastmost one. Just about any trailer should be able to fit into there. They did do some test fits on a 20-foot trailer for the other 5 sites, and they can't commit that that's achievable for them to get in there. I think the average food truck trailer is probably closer to 16 feet. So a little bit to be determined of whether all the trailers could get in there if there's multiple trailers. They are going to add some additional paving on the west-hand side of the site so that spot number 1 is accessible from day 1, and somebody parking in there isn't going to block the rest of them. So that's going to be modified a little bit. The electrical plan is to have 2 30-amp outlets on each pedestal. So there'll be 6 30-amp outlets to serve all 6 of the sites, all 6 of the food truck spots. And then there'd also be 3 50-amp outlets. So half of them could be served with a 30-amp. And then the existing 110 outlets that are on the existing pedestals would also stay in place. Now, that is to say, you could have 6 trucks on a 30-amp service and you wouldn't be blowing any circuits. But if you started to run, all 3 of the 50-amp ones and more than 2 or 3 of the 30-amp ones, you'd start blowing some circuits. So there's kind of a price balance here of how affordably we can get service out there and how can we kind of maximize the utility for different food trucks with different types of outlets and electrical needs. I think they've done a pretty good job on that. We have one of the Bluestone engineers that's been working on this said he's paid pretty close attention to food truck events, and 30-amp is the most predominant that he's seen out there. So, we could certainly go for the Taj Mahal electrical stands out there, but I think we've found a decent middle road of trying to make sure that most folks can hook up without any issue there. And then overall pricing, we're looking at about $212,000 for the flat work that would occur out there as part of the current Colby Park plan. We have the grant application out there for the lighting and the other kind of electrical components out there. Well, the lighting component, that's about $137,000. And then it's about 17,000 for the option C electrical that we talked at the last committee meeting. And so that's what, they'll be providing some feedback for us here in the next week as far as cost and then, how quickly they can get this constructed. So, I know we had a couple council members at that meeting as well. If you guys had anything else you wanted to input on that, that was the update I got from Nate, our architect today, as far as how design has progressed and prior to it being submitted, to Caliper, I'll circulate that with the committee again, just so you see the final design drawings, but this is where it stood as of today. If no one comments on that, then I'll just also note, Chief Mees and I have been working with the firefighters union. I think we have an agreement in concept. There's a couple Ts to be crossed and Is to be dotted yet, so we didn't put it on the council yet this evening. But I think we're there, within the council's guidelines, from the last session. So you should expect to see that for your consideration April 15th.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Roll call.
Yes.
Jones? Yes.
Michael Libby?
Yes.
Ron Campbell?
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Cover your ears, Aaron. 49:55, 8